As always, all right. Here we go on to the Sort of Sports Podcast, episode number 8. That's right. We're all the way to 8. Feels like a lot, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. All right, today we're going to start off with NFL, then we'll go over to NBA. Shouldn't be too long. I'll probably throw in some college basketball just because Ohio State's been doing really well, and I'd like to discuss it. But to start off, we are going to have NFL. And the biggest reason I was doing this podcast today, I knew I was going to do one soon, but then Carson Wentz was traded. So that pretty much confirmed that I had to do one. And yes, he went to the Colts. Now the deal involves the Colts obviously moving some picks. And to be honest, I think it makes sense for the Colts. I think if they're going to compete, to be honest, I think last year, I don't know if I said this last week, I don't think I did. I don't think they thought they'd be this good last year. I think they were shocked that they ended up even making the playoffs. And so now they're like, oh, crap. We've got a team here. We can do something. So they've realized that they actually have a good team, and now they're kind of scrambling to figure out what they're going to do. I mean, they got a pretty good defense, and then they got Jonathan Taylor, who's a really good young running back. They got some good receivers there. Hilton, their tight end. His name's slipping my mind, but he's a good tight end. And I thought Colts would get him. And I thought Wentz makes the most sense. For them, I don't think they're going to go out and get Watson. I think for the pieces they had, Wentz made the most sense, and I'm just really happy they go and got him. They went and got him. Great move. Obviously, Frank Reich and him are going to be good together. And are the Colts contenders now? To me, if they can make Wentz play back to how he's playing a couple years ago, I think yes. If they can make Wentz just a top 10 quarterback, not even top 5, they're definitely a contender. Obviously, like always, you're going to have to compete with Mahomes in the AFC. And that's obviously a big call. And in their division, they have the Titans and the Jaguars. Now, granted, I don't think the Jaguars are going to be that much of a problem. I mean, I think they're going to be good next year. I think they'll be probably better than the Chargers were this year, but for a rookie quarterback team, they'll be pretty good, but I don't expect them doing anything better. The best case scenario for the Jaguars is 7-9. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't think so. I think saying that they'll won't make the playoffs isn't really that high. I mean, the AFC is looking stacked next year, so especially with this Wentz deal, I think they should win the AFC South. Granted, it just depends on how the Titans play, and the key with the Titans really is Tannehill. We all know Henry's going to be amazing. It's just how good is Tannehill going to play? So that'll obviously be a big question for next year. But right now, the odds for the Colts winning the Super Bowl they're not even in the top 8, at least before the Wentz deal. So if you drop some money on them, props, because you can make some money off that. To be honest, I think the Colts are looking like a really good team. It'll obviously depend on how well Wentz plays, but they could be a sleeper team to make the Super Bowl. I know it's really high praise, but I really liked what I saw from the Colts this season. They were a really surprising and fun team. Moving over to the other big guy, Watson, where's he going? I still feel like the Jets makes the most sense. I don't think the Dolphins are going to move it. I don't think they want to give up all those picks. And Tua, I think they're in a good enough position with Tua. They might as well just stick with him. And I do think the Jets move the 2 pick to the Texans. The Texans can take Fields, or the Texans get Darnold and they select somebody else, maybe Sewell, maybe Jamar Chase, maybe Devontae Smith. I don't think they'd do that. I feel like they'd take Sewell. I don't think they're going to take a wide receiver. I feel like they'd probably I don't know, to be honest, but I don't think they'll take quarterback if they get Darnold. Granted, I'm kind of saying that because I'd like to see the Panthers be able to take Zach Wilson. Maybe the Panthers trade up with the Dolphins. I think that's very possible. But we will see. But I do want to see the Panthers take Zach Wilson, or Fields would be the second best option in my opinion, then probably Jones or Lance. But hopefully Wilson. But yeah, I think Watson is going to the Jets. I'd be shocked if he goes to the Dolphins. And I just think it makes the most sense for everybody involved. We're going to move over to the NBA now. We didn't spend a lot of time on the NFL, but there's really not a lot to talk about at the moment, other than the fact that the Bengals are getting new jerseys, and hopefully Burrow's going to be back by the start of the season. And I'm really glad because I like what the Bengals have going with Burrow. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. But they did not have the best jerseys, so I'm very happy they're getting some new ones. All right, so tonight the Nets and Lakers are going to play. It's going to be a big game. We also for the NBA have an update on the most watchables. It did change within the last 2 weeks. And, I guess we should just start with the All-Star starters will be announced tonight. And so, in honor of that, I have my predictions for who those will be for each conference. Starting off with the East, I think the front court's pretty obvious. It's going to end up being KD, Giannis, and Embiid. Those are your three best guys that are not guards in the Eastern Conference. I don't know why I struggled to say Eastern Conference. I think it just makes the most sense. They had the most votes at the time. If we look at the votes for the second return, leading the East in the front court was KD, Giannis, and Embiid. I don't think it's going to change. I feel like that makes too much sense. Those will be your starters for the East front court. For the return, the second return that they announced on the 11th of February, and today is the 18th, it's been a week. They had Beal, number 1, Irving, Harden. I don't think that's changed. I think it'll end up being Beal and Irving as the two starters. It's tough, though. I could easily see Harden sliding in. It's really just dependent on how many people went out and voted Kyrie, because I didn't vote either of them. Kyrie Irving used to be one of my favorite players of all time. He was my favorite player of all time for a period there. Then he left the Cavs, and I was very upset. But I didn't vote for him. My guards I voted for every time I voted were Fred VanVleet, Colin Sexton. I think I gave Malcolm Brogdon one because I knew Beal was going to make it. So I do think it'll be Beal and Irving, but if Harden comes in, do not be shocked. And I'm not just reading off the top. I know I just read off the top, like the ones who are supposed to make it last return. I just said those guys, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be honest with what I actually think. I'm not going to lie to make it more interesting. Moving over to the West, LeBron, Jokic, Leonard led last return. I do think it stayed that way. At least it should. Davis could sneak in past Leonard, but I don't think so. Really what's interesting is the guards. It was Curry, Doncic, and Lillard, but Lillard was only behind by 400,000 votes. I know that says only, and then I said 400,000. But I think there's a good chance Lillard becomes the 2 over Doncic. But I think really it's Doncic. Doncic is so popular. I think, like, Lillard's very popular too, but Doncic is really beloved. So I do think Doncic will end up being it. Sorry to be boring. I kind of just read the ones from the returns. I do think nothing's changed. But what's really interesting is that Lillard was third with 2,095,157, and Mitchell was fourth with 479,241. So he had about a fourth of what Damian Lillard had. That's crazy, and they only separated by one spot. So a lot of people voted Curry, Doncic, Lillard, one of those three. So that's incredibly interesting. Now we're going to go to my all-star team. So last week I did the thing where I was kind of like joking, just picking guys I think it'd be fun to see. Like I put Randall on my starters. But this time it's legitimate. If the NBA came to me, said, name your 12 for each conference, who you putting, this is who I would say. So for my Eastern Conference frontcourt starters, I do think Giannis, KD, Embiid, those should be your 3 frontcourt starters. It makes the most sense. For guards, I do have Beal. I think Beal really is having a crazy good season. Even though he's not on a very good team, he's still balling out, and you got to hand it to him. He's leading the league in points at 32.8, and he's shooting 47 from the field. He's doing really well, and I feel like he needs to be rewarded. Now here we get to a tough spot because Jaylen Brown is 11th in points, and he's the leading scorer on the Celtics. He's just ahead of Jason by 0.1, so that's interesting. But he's been playing really well. He's taken a big step forward. He's not going to be up for Most Improved Player because he was already so good that it's like they're not going to give it to him for getting even better. Like usually Most Improved Players goes to a guy that was like, maybe, and then he becomes like a full-fledged star, and you're like, oh, well, you finally hit your point. Like to me, I think Most Improved Player this year will end up going to Sexton. I think Wood is a chance, but Wood was playing pretty well last year. Now he's just started playing even better. whereas Sexton was like kind of fringe, and then now he's legitimately made himself I think a star. I think he can lead the Cavs for the next generation, I'd say. I got off topic, but yeah, right now it looks like Sexton is going to be most improved. At least in my opinion, he deserves it. But it really comes down to Brown, Harden, and Irving. Harden is 15th in points in the league. Jalen is 11th, and Irving is not even in the top 20, I want to say, unless I'm blind. Yeah, Kyrie, well, never mind. The issue is that he didn't play enough games to be put in the list because he was missing some of those games. So that's weird. I'm just on ESPN looking at the stats at the moment. For those curious, Embiid is 4th at almost 30 points, 29.7. That's insane. We'll talk about MVP with him later. Irving, Harden. Well, here's the thing. Irving and Harden are both playing really well. Harden especially. I think Harden is playing some of the best basketball he's played in a while. And I've been really impressed by him. But to me, Brown's making the biggest impact, even though the Celtics are struggling. So if I had to choose it, it's going to end up being Irving or Harden from like voting because they're more popular. But if I got to choose who deserves it, I'm going to give it to Jaylen Brown because he's just been playing so well. So those are my East starters: Beal, Brown, KD, Embiid, Giannis. Moving on to my West, I feel like it's got to be Curry as your point guard. Shooting guard or like the two guard is really tough for me because I think Luka and Damian are both equally deserving. I don't know why I called him Damian. It's not like we're close friends or anything. I mean, people call Luka all the time. No one's like, you see Doncic last night? Well, some people. Never mind. That's tough, honestly. Especially what hurts Luka is that his team is currently 10th in the West. Granted, it's the Western Conference, so the difference between them and the 4th seed, and the 4th seed being the Blazers, is only 5 games. So that's just kind of the West rolls. So they are huge apart. I mean, the Mavericks are 10th, the Blazers are 4th. But I think I'm going to end up giving it, if I really had to pick, I'm going to give it to Lillard. Just because he's been so good all these years. I don't think he's been an all-star starter. And I don't want to say that, like, I'm not going for like we'll talk about Mike Conley later. I don't want to go for some sentimental pick. I'm just saying because it's fringe, I'm going to give it to Lillard just because he's never been it, and he's one of the best point guards in the NBA. For forwards, it feels like it should be LeBron, Kawhi, and Jokic, and that's what I'm going to give it to. It makes the most sense. Now we get to the interesting part. Obviously, we're going to have 5 more of each position and then 2 extras because there's 12 guys on each team. So for my backup 2 guards on the East, I'm going to give it to, I'm a Cavs guy, and I think Sexton's really been balling out, so I got to give him the look. I really do. He's been playing really well. I've been impressed. I think he's very deserving of the look. He is currently 23rd in points at 22.8. The Cavs have drastically fallen. I talked about this last podcast. They were for a period and about to be a playoff team. Now they're 14th, second worst record in the East, 10-19. Not the hottest. It's actually the 3rd worst record in the NBA. But, the difference between us and the Bulls, who are 9th, is only 2 games. So maybe we can get back in that playoff contention. I would love that. But, the Hornets and Knicks, we'll talk more about the Knicks later. The Hornets I do think are going to make the playoffs. I think LaMelo's playing really well. He's probably going to be Rookie of the Year. I think they'll be able to keep up that pace. Raptors are a team I could see falling off. But, the Knicks are going to be interesting. So I hope the Cavs make the playoffs. But I'm going to give Sexton the all-star spot just because he's been playing really well. And he's fully deserving of it. Then Harden should be the other one. And Irving. I'm going to give it to 3 guards because that's what makes sense. Harden, Irving, and then my starting guards would be Brown and Beal. So those are 5 guards. I already have my 3 starting forwards. So now what would that be? That'd be 8. So we got 4 more guys. So uh, other than that, I'm gonna go with who's really been balling out in the East. Would be Jason Tatum, obviously. He's right behind Brown, scoring, deserving. He's been playing really well. I don't think there's any really reason to argue. LaVine is 6th in scoring at 28.5. I don't know. I don't think LaVine's really all too deserving. That Bulls team, I guess did give Sexton a look. We'll come back. I might have to, retract my Sexton give. That might be wrong about that one. Sabonis, also another one. He's been playing crazy well. He just scored me 50 points in my basketball fantasy league. That's crazy. Sabonis has been putting up 21.5 points, and he's been balling out. Definitely deserving. And Bam Adebayo. Bam's been playing really well. The Heat haven't been playing the best, but he's improved a lot in just 6 months. Not even 6 months. Well, yes, it would be about 6 months since, yeah. So he's improved a lot. Embiid. So my front court would be Embiid, KD, Giannis, along with Bam, Tatum, Sabonis. So those are 6 forwards. I already have 5 guards. I'm going to also add to the guards. I'm going to go with another one to add from the East. So this is tough because I want to put Sexton in there. I really do. I really want to. But Ben Simmons has been playing really well. I don't know if you count him as a guard or a forward, but I'm going to put Ben Simmons in there. He's been playing really well defensively. Got to give him the look. He's been balling out. So on the defensive end, he's not showing up on the points, but on defense, he's been great, and we got to pay him the respect. So, and it's not really statistical. You guys just watch a Sixers game. My gosh, they are a heck of a team. So if you're a 76ers fan, you know what I'm talking about. Ben definitely deserves to be on there. Other than that, that would be my 12. So maybe I should take off, I probably should take off Sexton, but other than Sexton, it'd end up going to probably LaVine. I don't want to. I'm going to let Sexton stay. I like him too much. We're going to move over to the West. So I already gave you my starters. Let's move over to, we'll do the backup front court first for the West. All right, so backup front court for the West. Paul George, he's been great this season. He's trying to prove everybody wrong. Props to Paul George. Paul George. Who else has been playing crazy well? Zion's been doing really well, but his team isn't the strongest. I do think that's got to factor in, but all right, we'll give it the look to Zion, and then we're also going to throw in Christian Wood because dude's been playing well, and Anthony Davis. So now we are at 9. We got 4 backup front court guys for the West. So we get 3 guards, and granted, I'm probably going to end up deciding that Wood doesn't get to be there, but we'll see. For the West, I feel like it's got to be Mitchell. Dude's been hooping. Got to give it to Donovan Mitchell. We're going to talk about the Jazz in a bit because I've completely flipped on the Jazz. I watched their game against the Celtics, and wow, they are the real deal. And we'll discuss them more in a bit. So, yeah, you got to give Donovan Mitchell the look. Luka Doncic, obviously, he's got to be there because I gave Damian the starting spot. And for the other West guard, obviously Paul Booker been playing really well. Ja is obviously very deserving, but we're going to go with maybe Chris Paul. Like, I know there's a big thing about Conley making it because Conley's never made an all-star team. That really sucks. But like Bill Simmons said, if he never makes an all-star game, that'll be like his thing. Is like he's never been in an all-star game. You don't want to be the next Mike Conley and not be in an all-star game. So I think I'm not going to give it to Mike Conley over somebody that's more deserving, and I'm going to give it to Ja. And so that would be Curry, Doncic, Lillard, Ja, Donovan. Those are my 5. Then I had did I have 9 front court members? I did. Oh no. All right, Christian Wood is out. He should be. All right. Here's the full team. We're going to read it so I have it intact. Starting at guard, we've got Curry and Lillard. Then we've got LeBron, Jokic, Kawhi. Then behind them, there is Doncic, Mitchell, Ja, along with Zion, Paul George, and Anthony Davis. Cutting Christian Wood. I'm sorry. It's the reality. So that's the final team. For the East, we have Beal, Brown, Antetokounmpo, Durant, and Embiid. And then off the bench, we have Irving, Harden, Sexton, Ben Simmons, because he's very deserving. I'm telling you guys. Sabonis, Bam, Tatum. That sounds right to me. Guys that almost made it. I want to give it to Randall. I would love to give it to Randall, but Sabonis is playing better than Randall. Trae Young almost makes it over Sexton. I just got the Cavs fan in me can't let Sexton not make it. I'm sorry. I feel like I was pretty unbiased other than the Sexton one. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about standings, just everything we talk about like usual, surprises, stuff like that. So we're moving on from the All-Star game. And one of my favorite things about the All-Stars is watching them draft. So I'll probably do a segment where I'll do, if I was the 2 captains, who it looks like the captains are going to end up being Durant and LeBron, and I'll do who I would draft. So, all right, that's all for the All-Star game. Oh, wait, one more thing. They are having the dunk contest and three-point contest. So I'm not going to do like a whole thing of everybody I'd want to see and name like everybody I'd want to see in the three-point contest and the skills challenge. But I will say for the three-point contest, obviously it's always fun to see Curry and Thompson get in. I don't know if they'll do it again, but it'd be fun to see them along with I think Luka could definitely light it up. But those would be fun to see. And, Beal would be good too. Beal, Harden. The three-point contest usually gets some pretty big stars. The dunk one is usually the younger guys. For the dunk contest, it's got to be Zion, right? Like, we have to have Zion in the dunk contest. It feels like it's a done deal. Just put him in. Just have Zion in the dunk contest. I would love to see Donovan Mitchell do it again. Levine's always fun, but I feel like they're going to do somebody new. But if there was one guy I got to pick to return, it'd definitely be Mitchell. But it's got to be Zion. Zion's got to be in it. If Ja would do it, I think Ja could kill it. So maybe Ja Morant versus Zion, and then Donovan Mitchell, and then whoever else they want. But I do think Zion would end up winning, but go Ja. One thing about Ja Morant I thought about his rookie year, and I was thinking about this. I was watching some of the Pelicans-Grizzlies game. I think it was Tuesday or Monday night. It was on TNT. It was a heck of a game. Is like Ja Morant, to me, is the new Derrick Rose. And I know it's scary because he just got hurt recently. But he plays the most like I've seen anybody play since 2011 Derrick Rose. And he's just incredibly fun to watch that way. He can pass, but he's like the king of just driving in on people right now. He's like a young gun that just goes for it. And he's so incredibly entertaining. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He's probably one of my favorite players of all time. He's up there. I love watching him. He's so much fun. I do think Zion is definitely going to be a big... I don't think we need to get off the Zion's the future of the NBA bandwagon, because I do think this season he's really showing that he is unguardable like we all thought. It's really just going to come into the Pelicans got to start being successful. If Zion doesn't, get them to the playoffs his first 4 years, then what are we doing, So the Pelicans got to figure out a way to be more successful and make the playoffs and give Zion a chance to get some big accomplishments underneath his belt. Because right now he's just a dude who's scoring a lot of points and, there's a lot of hype around him. So it's like you took Zach LaVine and added hype. That was a really hard roast on Zach LaVine, and I'm sorry, but Zach LaVine, he could be a really good player on like the Hornets. I think he'd be really nice there. Just add to their no defense team. But he's a great scorer, but I feel like on a championship team, he's like the second or third best guy. He can't be your number one option. But I don't think that's going to be proven wrong. I do think a lot of people agree with me on that. Let's move over to the Jazz. The Jazz are legit. They're completely legitimate. I watched their game against the Celtics, and they completely outplayed the Celtics. There's obviously something wrong with the Celtics, though. I don't know what needs to be made as the move. Maybe it's a trade for different big men. I don't know if Canner's really doing the job. You got a good core there with, obviously, Tatum and Brown. I do think Smart should be an untouchable. I do really like Marcus Smart. I think he's a really good player for a team that looks for titles. But I just think when you're the Celtics, you're obviously a team that looks like you can be in contention for the next 7-8 years with the team you have. You keep some of those guys together. But there's only 8 titles in 8 years. I know it sounds dumb. That's obvious. But I'm saying it looks like the Lakers might repeat this year. I'm starting to feel that way. As much as I don't want it to happen, it's starting to look that way. Obviously, there's a chance that Giannis ends up kicking it in the playoffs, and he's peed and he goes gets his title. I think those are your most likely scenarios. Obviously, the Sixers have a good chance to be in the finals, but I'm not sure when it comes to the playoffs if you slow down Embiid and you obviously can lock up Simmons with the right guy on offense, like locking up Simmons on offense. You're the defense. That sounded confusing the way I said it, but on defense, you can stop Simmons because he can't really shoot. Maybe the Sixers can't get to the finals. So I do think the Bucks got a really good chance. I like what the Bucks are doing this year. They look really nice. And the Nets, obviously, if they just get rolling, they've got a chance. But I don't. The only 2 teams I see out of them beating the Lakers are, like in the East, the teams that could beat the Lakers in the championship are probably the Bucks and Nets and maybe the Sixers. The Celtics got to get it together. Maybe that's a move for Al Horford, to be honest. I think that could bring him back maybe. But I don't know. Something's got to be done with the Celtics because they're obviously a championship contender level team. They just got to get it together. That also goes for the Mavericks. The Mavericks obviously aren't as nice as the Celtics, but they should be in the playoffs. They have one of the top 10, probably in my opinion, top 5 best players in the NBA in Luka Doncic. So I do think the Mavericks are going to try to go out and get Beal. I think it makes the most sense. Obviously, there's a really good chance that the Celtics go and get Bradley Beal because he's good friends of Jason Tatum. So that's scary. That could be insane. We're going to talk more about Beal and where he could go. But yeah, basically, Celtics fans, they got to get it together. I don't know what the move is, but I think a move's coming because Danny Ainge isn't the type of dude to just sit around and let things fall to crap. He's going to make a move. He's a very aggressive GM. But the Jazz are legit. If you're not watching the Jazz, you are missing out. And they have actually got onto the watchables list. And so we're going to move over to the most watchables. So number 5, the Sixers have moved down. They are number 5 now. Last episode, which is about 2 weeks ago, they were number 4. So they went down a spot, knocked the Rockets off. The Rockets are not on the most watchables anymore. They're just doing the same thing as always. Embiid is right now the guy I would vote for MVP if the season stopped right now. But granted, we're not even halfway through the season yet. But Embiid's looking like he should be MVP. So they're number 5 on the most watchables. Fun to watch, and really what's enjoyable is watching Ben Simmons' defense. I almost moved them up a spot because of that, but I do think the teams above them are more interesting. 4 is the Hornets. The Hornets aren't as good as the Sixers, nowhere near, but it's just fun to watch LaMelo Ball's highlights. He had some great plays. I wasn't watching the Hornets game because they're not on national television as much, but if you just look up the highlights afterwards, or ESPN and Bleacher Report are always showing me highlights of LaMelo. They're incredibly fun to watch that way. Whenever they are on national television, you better tune in because they're fun. And I like their uniforms. They got that sweet pale blue, and I think it looks great. So the Hornets definitely get a look. 3 is the Lakers. I don't think I have to explain this one. Same thing with the Sixers, where they're really good. You got to watch LeBron in these last couple years, and they could potentially be NBA champions. Right now, it looks like they're the number 1 most likely. 2 is the Nets. The Nets have been moved down by the number 1 Jazz. The Nets, same reason as last time. It's just interesting to see how they're playing these 3 stars together. The court's nice. They got the nice black and white stuff. That obviously feeds into the most watchables. You don't want to watch a team with terrible uniforms. That's why the Kings aren't here. I mean, the Kings' uniforms aren't terrible, but they're definitely not as nice as other teams. So the Nets, it's interesting to see how they work their 3 All-Stars. And it's also interesting because, they keep getting randomly taken out of games. Kyrie had his thing where he was missing some games, and, Harden is really the only one that's been there the whole time. And then KD got the COVID stuff, so, it's been all around. So it's interesting to see who's going to play that night, and they're fun to watch, especially when the 3 guys are on the court at the same time. Number 1's the Jazz. They're legit. I don't know if they can stay this hot. They feel like this year's Miami Heat, where it's like everybody's just doing what they're supposed to be doing. Jordan Clarkson looks like he should be 6th man of the year right now. He used to be on the Cavs, and I was like, I don't know why people like him so much. I don't know why people think he's such a great scorer. Well, now I do, because, yeah, he's a heck of a scorer. He can go out and he can get buckets. Donovan Mitchell's been playing great for them. Him and Conley are finally starting to click more. Obviously, Gobert is, I think the 2 best defenders in the NBA are Simmons and Gobert. Gobert, I think, is the best defender, just as in when you put him on a guy he needs to be on, like a big guy like Embiid, he locks him down better than anybody else. Whereas I think Simmons can guard literally anyone in the NBA. You look up highlights him guarding Damian Lillard. It was crazy. And then he guarded LeBron, and LeBron still got, I think, about 30 that night, but he was guarding him well. I mean, I think it's very interesting. I think Ben Simmons is the most versatile defender in the NBA. He can, guard anybody as well as the best. Whereas Gobert, if you put him on a big guy, he's going to be better than Simmons guarding that big guy, if that makes sense. So Simmons can do everything, whereas Gobert, the one thing he does is better than Simmons. So I'm going to give Gobert as the best defender, as in on defense, there's no one that can guard X person better. That person probably being Embiid, Jokic, your bigger guys. Whereas Simmons can guard literally anyone because he's 6'10 and super fast. So I still think it would have been incredibly interesting if the Sixers would have went out and got Harden. I kind of wish that would happen, but Simmons has really been impressing me, and he's a really good passer. So the Sixers can definitely keep Simmons and still be in contention. So it's also interesting, though, because Doc Rivers is their coach, and Doc Rivers hasn't won a championship since 2008. So there was a lot of flack on him last year for what happens with the Clippers. So we're going to see what happens, but that's obviously playoff talk, and we are currently in February. And so we're going to move over. Those are the most watchables: Jazz, Nets, Lakers, Hornets, Sixers. Obviously, I talked about the Grizzlies earlier. They almost made it. I like what the Grizzlies have going on, but I just think the Sixers, Lakers, Nets are really fun to watch. The Hornets are interesting because of Ball, and the Jazz are really hot right now. They've just been on a roll. Best team in the West right now. So give the Jazz a watch. You won't regret it. And Donovan Mitchell is just straight up one of the most fun players in the NBA. My buddy Aaron John, it's his favorite player in the league. So it's just fun to watch them. I'd go watch them. We're going to move back to guys like we moved at the deadline right after we discussed the Knicks. The Knicks might straight up make the playoffs. Like I said, we are in February. We're not even halfway through the season, but the Knicks look pretty good. Now that they got Derrick Rose, Tom Thibodeau's got it together. RJ's looking a lot better. They got it going. They're 6th in the East at 14 and 16. I really hope that the 6th spot in the East by the time the playoffs is over 500, because that'd be kind of sad. But I do think the East has gotten a lot better. I mean, the stars, there's a lot of stars in the East, just like there's a lot of stars in the West. It's gotten a lot better than how it was back in 2018, where, I mean, you'd name the top 10 guys in the East, and by the 10th, you're getting to I don't like Kevin Love for the Cavs, which I love Kevin Love for the Cavs, but if he's top 10 best stars, you are getting down there. But I'm sorry, Kevin Love, I love him, but that was a little sad back in 2018 when that was your 10th best player in the East, probably. The Knicks look good. I don't really know what else to say about them. They got some good players. I guess it's obvious, but I mean, I don't know what they're doing right, but they're doing it correctly. Like they're winning games. I don't really have some deep thing to say about them. I've just been impressed. For the East, for their games in the East, they're 10-10. I mean, Robinson looks good. Randall's been the shock. Randall's been a big shock. He's been scoring a lot, and yeah, I mean, Rose is playing his role perfectly, helping out the young guys, and Emmanuel Quickly's really good for them. So just go watch the Knicks. They're interesting. They might not make the playoffs, but I think they got a good chance. I'm impressed. They're building towards something. They just got to keep building and not try to focus on just signing some random big free agent. Like, this is the way you become contenders, is building teams that win. So, bravo, Knicks. Bravo. All right, guys, we move to the deadline. There's really three big ones. LaVine, Drummond, Beal. Drummond, this isn't at the deadline, it's by the deadline, is what I meant to say. Drummond is obviously going to be moved soon. There's a lot of guys that want him. Griffin is also going to be moved. We'll discuss him too. I forgot to write him down. Drummond, apparently there's about 10 teams they said interested. To me, I think the Raptors got the move. I think the Raptors probably throw in. I haven't ran the numbers or anything on like a trade finder, not trade finder, like a trade tester that would make sure it works cap wise. But I'm guessing like if they would be willing to give up OG Anunoby and a pick or two, along with some other guys maybe to work out the salary like a Norman Powell or somebody. I think that makes sense for the Cavs. Getting OG Anunoby, that would be a nice offensive spark plug. He's obviously a really good defender too. So maybe you run a Coro off the bench then. So I think that makes sense for the Cavs, especially getting their pick, because Cavs are a young team that's just building. I'm glad. Apparently, I read that they see Jared Allen as their franchise center. Happy with that, because that means going forward it'll be Sexton, Garland, and then OG or Okoro, and then whoever we draft will probably be a new power forward. And then we got Jared Allen, and I really like Jared Allen. He's a fun player. So, yeah, for the Cavs, I think that makes the most sense moving him to the Raptors. Other teams might go get him, maybe the Celtics. I don't think they would. I don't overall, but maybe. Maybe. They're just like, you know what? We're going out. We're getting him. Keep be nice to the Celtics. Obviously, everybody on the Celtics, it's like their best players can shoot. Kemba's not been playing as well this year, but he's still really good. So I don't know what they give the Cavs. Maybe they give him Pritchard. I would like to have Pritchard. He's a good guy, good player. If they give him Pritchard, some picks, probably have to move Dice. Really, the picks would probably be the biggest part of that in Pritchard. Maybe Robert Williams gets thrown in. Robert Williams, Pritchard, and some picks. Maybe I'm asking too much for Drummond, but I think you got to have some sort of pretty good asset to throw at the Cavs for him. So maybe the Celtics go out and get him, and they get really ballsy, but I think the Raptors makes the most sense. Obviously, he could be traded to a Western Conference team, but I'm not really sure who'd want him other than maybe the Blazers. But the Blazers already have Whiteside. Drummond's better than Whiteside, but they're so similar, I don't think they'd do that. So that's really my reading. Moving over to Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin, also, it's rough with him. I almost said also the Celtics, but if you're the Celtics, I think Drummond's a better option. What's tough about Blake is there's a very high chance he gets traded to a team that's like fringe playoffs, like the Hawks, and they're just trying to make a playoff push because they want to get those young guys that time. It's weird with Blake Griffin because when he's healthy, he can play well, but he hasn't been healthy lately, so I'm not really sure where he goes. I think there's honestly a world where the Hawks go out and get him and they give up John Collins because they're not very happy with John Collins. But I feel like that's kind of a dumb move for the Hawks, and that's a nice move for the Pistons, but it's kind of dumb for the Hawks. Obviously, in the West, maybe the Rockets go out and do it, but that just makes that team even weirder. Really, the teams that are in contention that would want him are like maybe the Warriors, to be honest. But the Warriors have already made so many moves. I don't know if they even go and try to do that. If you're the Warriors, you move probably. You might have to move Oubre. There's obviously a way you can keep Oubre, but I'm not sure how that move works. But that's what makes the most sense. Would be a Warriors, Griffin, maybe even a Grizzlies Griffin, but I don't think they'd do that. Warriors, the Wizards, I don't think will because I think they're kind of accepting the fact they might have to move Beal. Hawks, yeah, those are your top spots. Maybe the Hornets do, and they give up Devontae Graham. That's entirely possible. Trying to make that big playoff push. They get Blake Griffin, add Devontae Graham, Bismack Biyombo. I don't think he's still there, but if he is, let me check. I don't think Bismack Biyombo is still there, but if he is, he would obviously be able to be added to the salary. He's still there. He is still there. So, yeah, maybe they throw in him because I just know he's on a big contract. That's the reason I was making sure he was still there. I'm not a huge Bismack Biyombo fan. I might be butchering his name, but I'm pretty sure it's how you say it. Levine to the Hornets. I think it makes the most sense for everybody involved. The Hornets don't go get Griffin. They go get Levine. To move, they give Devontae Graham up. Just add to the Bulls having nice pieces that don't really fit together. There's obviously other places Levine could go. The Celtics, maybe, to get another scorer. But I think that just makes it harder for the Celtics to decide where to pass the ball. The Hornets are a great option. Celtics are a good option. But really, the best one in my idea is the Sixers. I think it fits perfectly. You can give up probably have to give up Horford picks, maybe Matisse. I don't think you want to give up Maxley. Maybe Shake. I know you don't want to do that, but you get a third option who's basically the opposite of Ben Simmons. Heavy scoring offensively, not the best on defense. Shoots a lot. Opposite of Ben Simmons. And then your starting lineup is, Shake, Simmons. Well, if you don't move Shake, probably Shake, Simmons, Levine, Embiid, Harris. That's nice. Maybe you have to move Harris to get him, and then you use less pieces. But I think the Sixers and the Hornets are great options for Levine, and I think he really fits there. Lastly is Beal. Celtics have a really good option to go out and get Beal. They're probably going to have to move Smart, Pritchard, Williams, those guys. I don't think they should do it, but they might. I don't think when you're the Wizards, though, you think that's the best package. You're not going to build a championship team off Pritchard, Smart, Williams. Those are all complementary pieces. To be honest, I think the most likely situation for Beal is the Mavericks. I'm not 100% sure what they give up. I don't think they want to give up Jalen Brunson, but Tim Hardaway Jr., some other guys, that's really good. They get another scorer. That makes the Mavericks playoff team, and I think it makes the most sense. Hopefully they can keep Kristaps. Only issue of Kristaps is he hasn't really turned out the best for them. He played a lot better when he was in New York. They got to get Kristaps back to his old ways. But yeah, I think that makes the most sense for every party involved, and that also makes the Mavericks a really dangerous low seed because they're probably not going to be in the top top 4, so they're not going to have home court advantage. But if I'm the Clippers or I'm the 4 seed, who'll probably end up being the Suns of the Blazers, I do not want to get into a playoff series in the first or second round with the Mavericks. That's not a fun time with Beal and Luka. If I'm the Mavericks, I want to go get Bradley Beal. I just think it makes the most sense for everybody involved. It's simple. Wrapping things up, we're going to talk about NCAA basketball. Then we're going to come back to NBA MVP. So NCAA basketball, Ohio State's been playing really well. I just wanted to say they got a heck of a team. The top 5 right now are Illinois, Ohio State, Michigan, Baylor, Gonzaga. Ohio State's next 2 games are Michigan and Illinois. So this is really going to show how good Ohio State is. But right now, obviously, you never want to predict stuff before the tournament. I'm going to be talking a lot about the tournament once it's going on. But Ohio State's got a heck of a team, and I'm not just saying that because I live in Ohio State. They got a good team. Baylor's really nice, though. I think Baylor's better than Gonzaga, to be honest. Might be a hot take, but I'm just saying. I do think Baylor's better than Gonzaga. Baylor's got a better conference, too. So If I had to pick the national champion, I would pick probably Baylor or Ohio State. I just think Ohio State's got something special. But Baylor, to me, is the best team. Gonzaga is not the best team. Gonzaga is one of the best teams, but not the best team. If that sounded confusing, you're right, it did sound confusing. So, yeah, that was a confusing way of saying that. All right, wrapping up with MVP. If things stay the way they are, Embiid should be MVP, but LeBron will end up winning it because the media narrative is pushing LeBron. To me, it's like when Leonardo DiCaprio won Best Actor in a Leading Role for The Revenant. It's like, well, he should have won it before. There's many times he got close, and they didn't give it to him. So this time they feel like they should, even though it's not really his best performance. So that's how it is with LeBron. I think 2018, him and Harden was a coin toss. I think LeBron should have won it 2018. Getting that Cavs team to the playoffs was amazing. But the Harden one was kind of a makeup because Harden had been so close before, 2015, 2017. I do think the right guys won in those years, but Harden has a really good, really good argument for 2015. 2017 is a lot harder because, that was when Russell Westbrook did his first ever triple-double season, and he definitely deserved it that year. But it feels like it's going to end up being LeBron or Embiid. In my book, Embiid is MVP, but I think the media narrative is really pushing LeBron, so I think it'll end up being LeBron. But we will see. We never know what'll happen. But the Sixers obviously got to be a top 3 team in the East to get that, and the Lakers got to be a top 3 team in the West. That is all for now. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.